We want the custom. So there's actually the log files or the logging files or the video files of people changing the tires. Okay. There's two ways to view it. There's a regular way to view it in non-service mode, and then there's a service mode way to view it. Okay. So we're going to go down into like we're the regular user. So we're going to go to utility, and then we're going to go to, I have no idea where we're going to go to, diagnostics. Nope. Did you plug this in and then restart it? The logging file? It was off and then you turned it back on.
I plugged the two drives in, waited for it to boot up, and then put it in.
Thank you. So if I go back to utility, can I go into diagnostics now? All right, see how the button's there now? The button wasn't there before. It said view log files, which is why I asked if we rebooted it since then, right? So it's so weird. Like on a Windows machine, you plug it in and it's like, hey, let's go to town, but it's Linux, so it's weird. So it's not terribly hard to get to. So you go to utility and then you go to diagnostics because you're going to diagnose what went wrong or the customer is. And when you view log files, you can see it starts out in 2023 and it goes all the way to, ooh, there's not anything after 2024. Interesting. Where'd all those files go? Interesting. There should be 2025s, but they're not. Interesting. All right. So yeah, whatever happened on whatever happened here, we're just gonna choose one of these. So someone was having a good time. Okay. So we're gonna take this file here, and then we're gonna play the video. Now I think we purposely unplugged because this thing here has a weird thing with the audio, and it just goes. It sounds like a pacemaker all day long if you leave it plugged in. So I always unplug the audio for my own sanity. And it's super loud. All right, so if you notice on the screen, it's showing the roller. It's showing the upper roller that way because, again, we can look where the TPMS is because if you're going to break the TPMS, it's usually they didn't put it at the lower roller. The other thing we can see here in a second is we can actually see the demount head come into play. So if you notice, this is an 8-minute video and it's only a 15 meg folder size. So it's a really small folder size for a 15-minute video. Most 15-minute videos are ginormous. Right? I'm sorry? Yeah. Right, yeah, because you can see it's probably only doing 15 frames per second rather than 30 frames per second because it's a little, but again, it's giving you enough to image that you can see what you're doing because we don't really need to see in 4K HD, right? So if you notice, it's just showing the video. Okay, so let me get out of here. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to utility. I'm going to go to service mode. I'm going to type in the service mode, super decoder, uncle, and Annie password. Back to utility, back to diagnostics. Go to more. View log videos. It's in a different spot. So, still no 2025s. That's so weird because we... Pick the what's the airplane one? Pick the bad week to stop doing methamphetamines. Pick the bad week to stop sniffing glue. Pick the such a good movie. Okay, if I pick the 27 files one, here's a really nice one, 27.2 megabytes. This can be nice. Okay, so if I play the video here, okay, if you notice on the right hand side it says UI for user input. So if something is happening off the screen, like the user inputted that he wanted to move the pushers or he wanted to move the lower roller and I can't see it, even cooler, is if I hit the show subtitles in video, now I don't even have to look over to the right side of the screen because the subtitles show up on the screen in yellow. Why bother having it there and then giving you the option to have it? Again, engineering. Love engineering, but sometimes they do dumb things, right? So what's really nice about this again is you can see exactly every time the person touches a pedal or moves a joystick. You don't have to guess as to what the customer is doing. Um, it says, and then, well, yeah, but and that's still a user input, but it says scroll to breaking beads automatically, which means in 39 seconds, the machine moved to the next step, right? The machine, even though it's a UI, maybe it's user interface. I always say user input. So the next one down at 1:08 is scroll to top beat demount automatically, right? If you notice up on 35 seconds there, it says UI scrolled to select mode, and then it says UI scrolled select the breaking beads, which means the customer did that because it doesn't say automatically after it. Okay, so if you're gonna have a thing where the customer's like, I broke 8 TPMS sensors in a row, or I scratched it's not usually TPMS. They're usually more upset about breaking scratching wheels because they break TPMS sensors all day, every day. It's Friday. I'm going to break a TPMS sensor, and it's just cost of doing business at this point. But you scratch somebody's wheels, and then everything goes off the rails, and everything's on fire, and people are getting killed in the streets, and it's like Minnesota. And so.
American Force wheels now. Puts an American Force wheel on a dually, that's $10,000.
Are they really? Are they really? Okay. So again, a lot of times it's going to be, hey, you scratched my wheel, and the only thing that you're going to try to do, because they're going to be like, well, I want Hunter to pay for this wheel, so you're going to have to go to the tape, as they say, right? And then you can see, does it say that the user move the demount head, or reposition the upper roller or something like that, to make it to where the user did something to cause the machine to do something that normally wouldn't have done. Okay, so this is really cool that you can get the subtitles, right? And then the other thing you can do is if I don't want to stay here for 213 to 329, if I just hit 329 or 342, I can move on to the next thing, but I have to restart them every time I move over here on the right. I always have to restart the video for some reason. It can't jump. It doesn't jump automatically for whatever reason. So again, really helpful. Really helpful for you guys when you're trying to defend your honor, basically, at that point, right? Okay. So videos are cool, which is why you have the log file. I am not sure why it's not taking videos in 2025, but I also don't have time to diagnose it. Hear that noise?
Yeah.
Isn't that a wonderful noise? Drives me crazy. So. Oh, I'm telling you, it's just like a mental drain. It's so terrible. Okay. Um, it's very nice and it's very helpful. Uh, Only if you tell them. Um, I don't know. No, normally when I'm training, I don't tell the technicians that it's recording them, because then a piece of tape is going to wind up over and then I won't be able to see anything. So.
At least for us, most employee guys will tell you right off the rip that by taking one, you automatically consent.
Right. Right.
That is a big part of all the anytime you get a phone call from somebody, they don't have to like a large business phone calls being recorded. So if you're
So, all right. Okay. Unfortunately, now you guys are going to have to stand up because we're all going to crowd around the Maverick uncomfortably.
yeah.
And yeah, the Navy guys, yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Just a butt. You guys were linking arms yesterday.
That's because they were trying to hold each other up from falling down because their Achilles heels weren't working. Oh, yeah, get over. Somebody's you can't see behind me. I make a terrible window. Tell you, let's tell you what. Let's push the rev back. So hold on. If I hold on, because I don't want to run over the wires. All right. So let's go ahead and push it back a little. Yeah, back. Right about there. All right. It's the video, the extra video wires that I have to watch out for. Because it's only VGA, I have to put it into an upscaler, and it has to upscale it to HDMI so then I can put it into the wall, because I don't have for whatever reason, I don't know, it's just easier to catch the VGA and I don't have to worry about it. All right, so since I can't see you, I'm gonna have to roll that down in a minute. All right, the Maverick. Okay. It is a manual version of the Revolution, so it's a little bit smaller. There's not as many controls. There's no screen, which means you have to provide your own screen, which is why we're asking you to buy some type of Android tablet. Believe it or not, I actually have the app on my phone because I have an Android phone. Now it's great for me, but if I try to show other people, it's a little tiny, right? So it doesn't matter if you get an 8-inch tablet or a 10-inch tablet. Just buy a cheap something off of Amazon. The display board here. The display board has a knobs board. The knobs board is sort of physically connected to the DAQ board or the main board. We'll call it a main board, motherboard, main board, because there is firmware on here, and you can update the firmware on here. To update the firmware on here, it's just as simple as plugging in a thumb drive. Okay. However, they didn't offset the thumb drive, so the thumb drive plug-in is at this impossible angle to hit, and I am incapable of hitting this unless I get down on one knee, look underneath there, let the vertigo kick in, and then I have to try to plug in my USB drive 3 times because it's wrong, and then it's wrong, and then it's right, which means theoretically it was right the first time. It just didn't want to work. So there is a USB drive. Every time this thing boots up, it takes about 30 seconds to boot up, and that's about 30 seconds longer than you think, because nothing shows up. Because what it's doing is every single time it's booting up, it's looking for a thumb drive to see if it has a new version of software to upload. If it does find the thumb drive, it'll just say like UPD or UDT for update, and then it'll say done, and then you shut it back off, unplug the thumb drive, and then it's just done with the new software. Okay. When it does boot up, after 30 seconds and nothing, it will display the firmware version for about a half a second. So you're like, you're bored, you blinked and you missed it, which means then you have to shut it back off, wait another like 30 minutes to boot up, and then you're going to blink at the wrong time again and you won't be able to see the firmware. Okay. This is either a DAQ board or a main board, however you want to say it, but everything does plug into here. I was talking to the one guy when we first started this morning. I am actually missing a plug-in because I don't have a J28 plug-in, and I'll explain that in a second. But this is like power outs. So just like on the Revolution, we have power outs with most of the same people worked on the Revolution or worked on the Maverick. So we get the cool power outs portion of the board, okay? There is a speaker, and the speaker is the only way it tries to communicate with us. So you sort of have to, you're not going to hear it in a noisy shop, but it's there. Dip switches, I have no idea why there are dip switches on here. We don't use the dip switches yet. It's like that jack in the back of the TV that says for future use. So I don't know what they're doing, but we get future use dip switches. They all the plug. The interesting thing, or the sad thing about this is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different plugins that are identical, and older machines like this, they didn't do the zip ties on the wires, and they didn't have the cool sticker. Newer machines, they do have the zip ties on them, and then when you take this part here and you pivot it out, The sticker is actually stickered in between here and here so that you can figure out where to plug stuff up. Okay. This one here, I don't believe has the sticker. This one here, the reason I have this one is I dropped another tire changer into it and did that body damage. And for those of you who have good hearing, there's at least one air leak. Sometimes there's two. This air leak is right back in here, and it is actually a pinhole air leak in the weld. And when I say pinhole, that's because it looks exactly like somebody stuck a pin in it, welded around it, and pulled the pin out. There is a perfectly circular hole that is leaking. So we probably weren't going to be able to sell it to the customer. And then I decided to drop a tire changer on it. And I was just like, I'll just take this one because I was going to need one anyway. So here's mine. I dropped the same tire changer twice within 20 minutes. It was, and it wasn't this one. It was a different tire changer. It was an interesting day that day. Again, so the display board, just like on a on-car brake lathe, the display board has its own little plug-in, so that we can make the display say lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different things. Okay. You guys have already found this out, but this joystick does the up and the down, and it also does the in. So it does up and down on the arm, but it also does up and down on the hook, which is why we try to put the green arrows, the green arrow, the green arrow, the yellow arrow, the green arrow, and the yellow arrow to tell you that if you move it left to right, it does the hook. And for some reason, that is, it's not intuitive because everyone remembers to put the hook down, but then they forget to do the hook up, so they try to pull up the whole arm. Okay, and that's obviously bad because we don't want to do that. We just want to pull up the whole arm. So that's why we try to put the color coding in it and the color coding in it, but it seems to have failed miserably because no one ever follows the color coding. Obviously, to do any type of diagnostics, you need again, it has to be Android. You're just going to plug it into the USB port, and then you can see the numbers sort of like the data screen on the Rev. It's just this data screen only has like 12 data streams instead of 58 of them or 60 of them, or how many ever that one had. When I ordered this one in, I got the whole entire piece. So I got this, I got this, I got this, I got that. You can order in this whole shebang here. I suppose you could just get this board. You could unscrew everything, just get a DAQ board. Anyway, I'm going to put this back up here where it came from. We're going to turn this on. We're going to boot it up. Again, it doesn't look like anything's happening. Is that's because it's actually looking for a thumb drive that it doesn't have. In about 10 more seconds. All right, so there it says 1.23. Current software is either 1.27 or 1.28. If we booted one up across the hallway, I'm pretty sure it's 1.27. Anyway, even though it's Android, but we don't put anything on the Play Store. We keep all of our Android or Linux software firmware on the website. Now, you would think that is so much better. Did you hear how much quieter it is? Because it's got the rubber isolators on it, right? We do learn sometimes. Anyway, you would think that the software would be on the service wallet page. Did you see it? Because it's not on the service wallet page. It's still, when you go into service, on the top you got sales, service, product support. When you go into service, about 4 rows down in service, there's this wonderful little innocuous thing called downloads. That's because before the service wallet, everything was in the download section of the website because you downloaded the data from the website, which makes perfect sense to an engineer. So when you go into downloads takes about 5 minutes to render because there's 43 different tabs at the top of the page, and then there's 100 different tabs in each one of the 25 tabs on the top of the page. So downloads it takes forever. When you go into downloads page, there's like service videos, and then there's just one that just says there's sales videos, service videos, and then there's just something that's called service. and all of the firmware or software that's not in the service wallet is on the service tab. So you have to go service, downloads, 3 over, I think, is service again, and then there's like 100 different things on it, and hopefully somewhere on there, we don't call it TCM. Yeah, that one, and then you have to wait for that to render. And then we don't call it TCM, we call it Maverick. So you have to look in the M's because it's the tire changer Maverick. TCR, tire changer Revolution. Is it 1.2? So there was one 1.28 did come out? Okay, I wasn't sure. They were toying with me. It's like sometimes I know they're working on it, but they hadn't released it yet. So
It tells you how many people viewed it, how many people downloaded
yeah, yeah.
More people are downloading 1.23 than 1.28.
Yeah, well, 1.23. So that's another thing. We don't take 1.23 away, right? So 1.23's been out for years now, right?
That's nice to have your tablet so you can view what it's doing.
No, so there's another thing that's actually says Maverick Diagnostic App. Underneath the software, it should say Maverick Diagnostic App.
Application, service application.
That one. That one.
Yeah, that's the one you download.
We'll go, yeah.
Oh yeah, almost 1,000 downloads.
Yes.
And now can you skip from 12.3 to 12.8, or do you have to do incremental?
No, I can go from 123 to 128 because so in the background, a lot like Winalign, this is still basically 1.0, and then we went to we incrementally go from 1.0 to 1.1 to 1.2 to 1.3, but 1.3 has all the incremental updates in it. So when you go from 1.23 to 1.28, it has all the incremental updates because basically we would go from 1.27 to 1.28 because they found something worth fixing. Thank you. I didn't want to use the other word in 1.27. So they made 1.28 to fix 1.27, and they made 1.27 to fix 1.26. So because we can't skip anything because then something would be unfixed.
You know? Ford did this fancy thing where if you forgot to download the updates for your diag tool, you download it and say download complete and crash the entire system. You have to delete it completely off your computer, re-download the program, then download the updates.
Oh wow!
So you were basically down for like 2 hours just downloading the updates, but you had to do it in steps. If you missed more than one update, you basically had to delete.
Oh, that's terrible. The diag app, does it say that, is there 2 diag apps or 1 diag app? Because a long time ago there was 2 diag apps depending on what version of software you had. And if you had like 1.2.3 had a diag app that was like 1.0.0.1, and then we came out with 1.2.4 and we had to go up. Okay, so we took the old diag app off because diag apps only work backwards, right? So it's whatever software we're doing, that diag app will work software. But when we come out with new software, we have to come out with a new diag app. But the new diag app does do everything backwards, right? So you don't have to worry about, oh, I have this software, I need this app to do this software. Yeah. Okay. So back up just a little bit. The Maverick tire changer. When you order a Maverick tire changer, you're going to get a Maverick tire changer minus the wheel lift. Even if your salesperson orders a Maverick tire changer with a wheel lift, they do not install the wheel lift at the factory. That is your hour-and-a-half journey that you will journey on by yourself, and you will love every minute of those 90 minutes. The wheel lift, we don't make the wheel. The wheel lift is made by somebody else, and sometimes we have supply issues with the wheel lift. So rather than holding the order just for the wheel lift, it's better for us to send the tire changer out, because people buy balancers and tire changers in a customer down situation, right? Because even though you as a technician had to have 43 different screwdrivers, the place you worked for had 1 balancer and 1 tire changer, and it just had to work perfectly every day, all the time, forever, and not break. So a lot of times the tire changer or balancer is, again, it's like, oh, the only one we had broke. What we so, it's better for us to ship it out because you can use it without the wheel lift, right? It's just the complainers are going to complain that it doesn't have a wheel lift. And you'll be like, it's coming. It's just not here yet. Okay. You can either have a tire changer. So this is a TCMW for wheel lift. So you can either get a TCM, a TCMW, which has this little D-ring hook wheel lift, okay, or you can order. So a TCM is one price point, a TCMW is a different price point because it has this version of wheel lift on it. Or for like another $2,000, you can get the TCM Pro, and the TCM Pro has the really cool wheel lift on it, with the big wheel lift that looks like the Auto 34. And not only do you get the really cool wheel lift, right back inside here, they added an LED light. And anytime you move the lower roller up, the LED light comes on so that you can see in the mirror where your roller is in relationship to the side. Possibly the single greatest like technological development we have ever done on a tire changer is put a little stinking LED light so that it shines underneath. It's it's worth every penny. Honest, it is honestly worth every penny. It's so nice. David. Yeah. Yeah. He's in the video. Yeah, he's in the video. He's the new face of Hunter Training. I have a face for radio, so he gets on there and he can hype videos up. I'm just gonna do it. Anyway, so the Maverick Pro, that's why 128 came out, because of the Pro, because of the light. So we had to add verbiage that when it saw the lower roller solenoids engage, we turn the light on. Okay. So technically three different tire changers. It's all the same base. It just depends on what wheel lift you get. Okay. Some people may not want to pay the extra $2,000 or $2,500 just for a light. So you're never gonna get somebody to realize that that light is that cool. So they may buy the less expensive TCMW, whatever. Okay. The platen is the same. The wheels are the same. The hook is the same. The D-mount head, the spine of the D-mount head is the same. But the D-mount head itself is different because the D-mount head on a Rev is straight all the way across, and the D-mount head on a Maverick has this. That's why we can't have nice things. The D-mount head on a Maverick has this cutout right here. Okay. The reason the D-mount head on the Rev is fully straight across is once you set the upper roller, all of the other arms know where they're going because it has the Linux system and it has all the motherboards on it and all that other stuff. Because this is a manual tire changer, you don't necessarily, you still set the upper roller because it sets the distance away, but it doesn't set any of the depths or the heights. Okay, so when you bring down the D-mount head on the Maverick, you want the rim and you want about a piece of a paper sliver of air or an air gap from this flat part to the rim. So if you can't, so if you have the rim and you can't see the cutout, the cutout's below it, your D-mount head is too low. If you have this much room between the D-mount head and the rim, it's too high. So this little funky little cutout here is how you place the actual D-mount head in the correct vertical position. Okay. There's no memory button on it, so if you're going to bring it back down, you always just look for the little air gap right there. Okay. Yeah, it does not. Actually, it does right there. Which means the other one has it, which means no one noticed the sticker, including me, on the other one, right? Because I totally forgot that sticker was there. So, it's a nice sticker. And we also have the TPMS sticker. So we have the TPMS sticker. We have the other sticker there. If you noticed when you move the spindle in and out, because these here are straight on at 12 o'clock, we don't have to move these, right? So now again, just like the Auto 34R, we're moving the tire in and out rather than moving the arms in and out because it's easier to move. It's different. It's easier. It's kind of weird the first time you use one when you're moving the tire because you're not used to the tire moving. There is a camming system. This square tube has bushings in it. The square tube is there's a gear and there's a chain, so that as this moves in and out, this guy here changes its angle. Okay. So because of pi, right? We know that because of pi, as the wheel gets bigger or smaller, we can evidently somebody counted the links on the chain to make sure the right links are on the chain. It's way down underneath that bracket. Basically, if you had eyes in your feet, you could see it, but it's no one's going to get down on the ground to see it. So all we're doing is we're changing the angle on the demount head. This bar right here, this bar right here is the manual adjuster in case the guys down or the ladies down in Mississippi don't quite get this angle set right. You loosen up the bolts and then you can turn. It's almost like a double tie rod. You just turn the big, or not a drag link, almost like on a Jeep or something, right? You just turn it and then the steering wheel straightens up and you don't actually change the wheels. But it's like a drag link, and again, you can modify. Like that's haven't said this yet. Thank you for asking. You need to have, and I'll say this again in balancers, but you need to have either a 17 or an 18-inch wheel assembly with you. You're supposed to have it with you. Now, what most guys do is they just walk around and go, "Hey, anyone got an 18-inch rim laying around?" And usually somewhere, unless you're in a tire and wheel shop, they will never have an 18-inch rim that you can use. Even though there's an entire wall of 18-inch rims, you can't use any of those because they're the display. So you guys need an 18, I'm going to say 17 or an 18-inch rim with a tire that holds air. Okay? And you're going to use that as a diagnostic tool. Okay, and I'll explain more in Balancer Week about the diagnostic tool part of it. 17 or 18, and that's because one of our balancers physically calls out for that size to calibrate it. You watch a lot of videos. How many videos have you watched? Do you sleep, man? All right. So one of the balancers to do a service mode calibration, you need a 17 or an 18. So you might as well pick up a 17 or an 18. The other thing you can do with a 17 or an 18 is you have to take the tire off, or at least push the tire down with the upper roller. And then when you set the upper roller, you can tell whether or not your demount head is angled correctly. Okay. There's another thing you do, like with that rim, you can do what we call a sanity check. And when you set the upper roller on the rev, you can bring all the other arms in, and all the other arms are supposed to be like right at the right angle. They just call it a sanity check. Everything on this tire changer, again, is manual. This, and then there's a pipe. These are your air tanks. Okay. The air tanks on the rev are the two black pieces of frame on the bottom. There is a 1.5 inch thing on the bottom there. Those are your air tanks. Okay. We went from an external air tank that was an actual air tank to just using part of the frame as our air tank. Actually, there is a wonderful person that works in California for the state of California that likes to go around and look at the actual black air tanks, because there's a certification date on that air tank and it expires after a while. And there's a city worker that loves to like ding us on that. And then you can't use the tire changer until you get that retested, right? Which is expensive. But that city government worker in California just loves to do his job. So we found a loophole. If your air tank is less than 6 inches in diameter, you don't have to put a plate on it. You don't have to get it tested. So if you notice, that tire changer has, it's off to the right. It's circular. That is the air tank, but it's less than 6 inches in diameter. The tubes are less than 6 inches. The tubes are less than 6 inches. We will never make another tire changer with an actual tank on it, because we're sticking it to the man out there in California, right? So that's why everything is it's a non-conventional air tank. Okay.
Aren't these like a few grand apart in price point or no?
That's 34, that's 42, and this is like 23, 24, depending on which wheel lift you get. Because again, there's not a lot of electronics. It's all manual. Okay, so I'll bring this guy up a little bit. For those of you guys, This thing sort of has the tools clear if you push and hold both of these knobs for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. If the lower roller was up, it would push the lower roller down. So it does have a tools clear like feature. These two, you have to push both of the upper arms up, and then you can just and see how it slows down when I'm trying to do 2. That's because I'm operating 2 arms on the same pulse width modulated uh, valve, and that valve can only let through so much CF or CFM. The roller these are done by air, so those are air powered. Okay, that's another thing that happens with this one. Even the indent is manual, right? So if you forget to indent, you're just going to wipe the side of the tire down. You're never going to break the bead. So you have to know after you get into the bead, you have to indent, which is why we give you the white pieces of tape to remind you whether or not you're indented or not. Now, there is a little bit of logic in here. If you take the upper arm or the lower arm away from the tire, it will automatically unindent before it moves. So if I go to move the upper arm up, if you noticed it indented first before it went up. If I take this guy here and I try to go down, it's going to unindent before it goes down. That way we don't hurt the rim or break the wheel or, have something come off and hurt the operator or something like that. Okay?
Lower beat or the lower roller up to take the tire out.
Mm-hmm.
The lower beat.
Mm-hmm.
Does it automatically indent? Do you have to do that by yourself?
So if I do this, I still have to indent. Now, if I'm going to use this as I'm demounting the lower bead, there is one arm potentiometer on the whole machine, and it's on the lower roller. And basically, it says after 3.5 inches, unindent to miss the top of the, because again, there's a little bit of logic in it. So if I just pull it up, right, notice as I was pulling it up, it unindented. Now, once I get that thing on top of the rim again, I have to re-stick my tongue out to create a traction point so I can take the lower bead off. And then again, it's going to, so, right. The inflation thing, if I hit auto, it shouldn't work. And it beeped at me because it knows, because there's a switch right here. There's a micro switch. Now that I open the micro switch up, okay, now, that was freaking loud. Okay. But it's not going to try to put air in it because it knows it's in the home position, and it's going to be like, well, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. The Revolution will do the same thing if the hook is at home and the micro switch actually works.
Well, look how you got here with no air. Makes its own air.
Some days, some Bluetooth, just like the drive shafts at SEMA. A lot of Bluetooth drive shafts. So, yeah, it is plugged in. You would think it'd be plugged in behind the machine, right? Yeah. No. You know why? Because that one leaks when you unplug it. So, there is some air to it. When you get a Maverick, the cover is going to have like a blanking cap over where the wheel lift goes. That way we don't have to give you a new cover. You do have to put the sticker on, so try to put the sticker on, sort of level. The one thing you will have to do after you install the wheel lift is you have to calibrate the wheel lift pedal. Okay? Unlike the Revolution pedal calibration, where you calibrate it in the middle, you calibrate it down, you calibrate it up, calibrate it in the middle, the Maverick is just looking to see where the middle is. Okay, so calibrating on the Revolution, which we need to do today, takes about 40 minutes. Calibrating on the Maverick takes about 10 seconds. It takes longer to get into the mode than it does to calibrate it. So if you don't have a tablet and you install a wheel lift, if you hold plus and minus down for about, I don't know how many seconds, how many seconds that was, okay, then you're going to hit this button over here. It says CAL. Okay, now if you hit the upper arrow, it's going to get out of the service mode. The problem with hitting the up arrow is it doesn't save any of the values. You have to hit the down arrow. So if you hit the down arrow, it beeps at you twice, and congratulations, you just calibrated a Maverick. You guys are amazing. That's how fast you guys. All right, so that is really, really okay. So because again, we only have the one potentiometer for the arm, and because the potentiometer, I don't have to care where home is, right? I just have to care about that potentiometer has a valid number, right? So what happens is I just marked that spot on the potentiometer. 3.5 inches up from that spot, it's just going to unindent. Okay? If I mark that spot way down, here, 3.5 inches from here, it's just going to unindent. So it doesn't matter where it is height-wise, it matters where I indented it. And then, like I said, it just adds 3.5 inches to it, and then that's why I don't need a min and a max. I don't have to care, because every time I indent it, that's like the new bingo. Right? Bingo, 3.5 inches, we're coming back out. So that makes this pot a lot easier. The other thing I guess we learned from the Revolution tire changer is we don't really have to go through the 5-point calibration, as long as we know that the middle is still 1800 plus or minus 200. And as long as I'm in that 1800 plus or minus 200, when I step down, the numbers go down. When I pull up, it goes up, and then I know whether or not I need to do whatever I need to do. Okay, but because the wheel lift didn't come with the tire changer from the factory, the wheel lift is not calibrated. There'll be a 0 for the value in the calibration screen, and it won't work. Even though you hooked it up, it won't work because we don't know if it's 1800 or not. Okay? Everything else is real cool. It's real manual. So let me do this. The only other thing we have on here is we have a reed switch. A reed switch works off of magnetivity. So if you notice, I have power going to this side of the reed switch. This magnet is going to affect this magnet. And when the two magnets come together, they sort of open each other up, and then the voltage doesn't go through the top part of the reed switch. Okay. We used to use the same reed switches on our balancers for about 100 years, and now with the advent of exterior cameras measuring wheel stuff, now we switched back to Hall effect sensors because we have to know where the hood is in space. So we don't use reed switches anymore. But older balancers had two reed switches. There was one magnet and two reed switches, and we knew if it was up and we knew if it was down. And that's all we needed to know because we didn't have cameras. Now that we have cameras, we're trying to measure where the tire meets the rim. We're trying to find that little spot there where it goes in and comes back out. And then we can also measure diameter with the outside camera. And then we can do another, there's one more thing I'll have to remember before next week. But we have to know speed too, right? We have to make sure we're dropping it at a good speed.
Come up with a better way
So,
of attaching the sling grip
what's that?
instead of trying to run those two screws into the plastic cap.
There's only one. No, and it's still one. Yeah, so by the time you look at it, you've over tightened it. So, and if you use any force whatsoever, you'll strip it out. So, it's a silver screw. The silver screw looks like we bought it from Harbor Freight. It's the cheapest looking silver little. It's a self tapper. And it literally looks like if we paid 2 pennies for it, we paid 2 pennies too much for that little silver screw. Yeah, and that's what well, stop being a man. Stop being so manly. Put it in with your left hand next time or something. You know, I don't know what to type. So.
I watched Jason Jeffries get pissed off enough to throw one across the shop.
Yeah, he stays mad just because he likes to be. He doesn't know what to do if he's not mad. So he just has to be mad all the time. Reed switch. If I move my hook down, again, my tool hook is either all the way up or I don't know where it is. If I don't know where it is, I have to assume it's stuck in the tire. I don't want to do dumb things to the tire like break the beads, stretch the beads, rip the beads, cause injury to the owner of or the user of the machine because we're doing something stupid with the tire and then the tire hits the operator or whatever they're at. So the only thing I can do is if I try to move the arm, is it's going to beep at you, okay? Now I noticed a couple of you guys figured out the secret. If I go up once, it beeps at you. If I go up twice, it's like, okay, we're going to do this. We shouldn't be doing this, but we're going to do this anyway. But it does it at half speed, and it tries to beep at you. Now, again, in a very busy shop, you are never hearing the beeper. But what you will complain about is you're like, I don't get it. My D-mount head moves half speed. Again, we are trying to protect the stupid people from themselves because stupidity hurts everyone else but that person, okay? So if I pull this guy all the way back up and my reed switch closes, I don't beep and it moves at full speed, okay? So that is and again, I wish we could make it to where every time you picked up on it, it just beeped at you and it was like, we ain't doing this. But since it's manual, you are in control of your own fate at that point. Now, whether your fate is positive or negative by doing that, I'll leave that up to you. Okay? It's usually negative. All right. The other thing that's going to happen is somebody's going to come over and push down on the start switch. We can't tell you that, but all we can do is beep at you. Right? So no matter what I do, unless I use this, okay. No matter what I do, all it's going to do is beep at you, and you're going to get telephone calls. It's going to say that my tire changer's dead, and all it's doing is beeping at me. And all you have to do is tell people to deactivate the e-stop, and then all of a sudden it starts working. It's like magic. It's like there's some weird thing that's causing it not to work. We don't have any way to tell the person that, so the only thing we can do is beep. It's like the BIOS beep on a motherboard, right? It can't really communicate, but it can just beep at you to let you know something's not happy.
The first time you tell them, hey, the second time they call you run out there and charge a service call to tell them. Yeah.
Again, you're going to work for about 45 days, and then your letter's already going to be in the mail. So visit as many people and bill as many people as you can because it's going to be a very storied career. It's just going to be very short.
Eventually, the only way some people learn is by losing money, making it painful. Yeah.
Hopefully you're going to be so busy that entertaining that thought is just going to be like, I don't have time to drive an hour and a half all the way across my territory. So you're just going to keep answering the phone and you're just going to keep going, hey, remember last time this happened, all you had to do? And they'll be like, oh yeah. And then 3 weeks later, they're going to call you again. And you're going to be like, remember the last 2 times again? They're going to be like, oh yeah. The same guy. Yeah.
Every time I answer the phone, it's only $20.
Like a lawyer.
He's negatively affecting you, so you two need to separate.
$5 phone call.
So believe it or not, and but it's good. It's good to role play. So, if you noticed, I had to plug that thing in 3 times, right? And I knew I had it plugged in the right way the first time. It still didn't work. So, it's just a portal to a different world or something. Let me see if I can get this thing to turn on.
Jim, what did we plug the other day through that had the other end on it so we could plug into the DAC boards on the
Brake light. Yeah.
The brake light, it's just it's like it's not really a panduit end. It's just this end, whatever you want to call that. I don't know. It's just I don't even, and it's just an 8-pin connector. And that's why you need to buy the special cable. Now, fortunately, the cable's only about $40 or whatever. So my tablet here is booting up. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to unplug this side. The top of it turns either red, crimson, or maroon, depending on your college football choice. I do not get into those debates because it's like it's like sock sizes, and no one really wants to talk about it. So it's in red, crimson, or maroon. It says that the tablet is not connected, and then when you do connect it, it turns into a lovely blue color. Oh wait, I have to answer. Okay, fine. It turns into a lovely blue color, and it says that it just says main data display. Now the good news is that USB port will charge your tablet. So if your tablet's on like 10%, you can plug it up. It is a slow charge. It's not a fast charge, but at least it will charge the tablet.
It'll stay on.
The other thing that you have to worry about or be concerned about is not every charging cable will move data. When you buy the $4 charging cable off of Amazon, it is a charge-only cable, which means it'll charge, but it'll always stay red, crimson, or maroon and say not connected. This one here happens to be a micro USB. I had to go through 4 of these cables. 3 of them were here, and they were all charge only, and I was getting viciously aggravated that I couldn't find an actual data cable here on campus. And then I actually finally found one, and now this is my golden cable. This is the only one I know works. Okay, so I have, again, up top here, I have all of my data streams, and there's only like 10 or 12 of them. If I push my e-stop switch, it lights up in red and turns on to let me know, hey, I hit my e-stop switch. The other thing that happens, just like on the Revolution, I didn't actually show you this on the Revolution, but in data display, if I move a joystick, it lights up in red to tell me that I've moved a joystick. The other thing that works with it, especially on the Revolution, not only does the joystick light up, but the arm lights up. So if I move the upper arm vertical joystick, that number will light up red on the data display, but also the upper arm vertical that matches that joystick will light up red also. So it's nice, so that way when you're moving the joystick, you know what arm you're supposed to be controlling. That way you know, hey, if I move this joystick to the right, nothing changes. So evidently I got a bad spot in the joystick, and it's not actually showing that I'm moving the joystick to the right, because nothing up top, 1 to 9, should turn red also. Okay, so that's really nice. If you notice, I have upper roller, lower roller, tool head, spindle slide, and then pedals. Okay. Again, you have to calibrate the wheel lift. Right now, my wheel lift is 1919. My rotate is 1850. Stuff like that. On my lower roller, my vertical position, if you notice, my vertical position has count 755, but it doesn't have a home. So unlike the Revolution, I don't care about home anymore, because every time I indent it, that's like the new home position, and then it just knows where to go. Okay. You're going to want to stay there. The other cool thing is, if I do this, if you notice, I was doing air, and it lit up what air component was supposed to be moving to. So it lets me know which air valve is supposed to be moving, okay? That's now, it also works for my hydraulic valves. If you notice, every time I move a hydraulic valve, something else lights up on the screen. We learned that if we're trying to help you guys, if we're trying to help you guys diagnose stuff, because we don't have a screen on the machine, we can at least make whatever valve is supposed to be energized light up on the display. Okay,
Awesome.
it is really cool. If I want to show valve locations, it's gonna tell me every valve in here. So if I need to order that valve when I go to the parts drawing, I already have the call out for that valve, V1B, V1T, whatever. Okay. If I go over to inflation station, it still shows me my inflation station, but the other thing it shows me, I can test my switches. Like, if you notice that switch turned red, there's a little red ring around that switch. There's a little red ring, and then the triangles light up. Okay, that's letting me know, is my chiclet pad working, right? Because if your chiclet pad dies, you don't know if you're even getting the input signal. So by looking at the red on the chiclet pad, not only does it say released and pressed on the side over here, but it actually does light up on the thing, and that's kind of cool. That way you can just see, am I actually does it actually even know I'm giving it an input at that point? Okay. All right. Lastly, but not if I go back to main display, the 3 lines at the bottom again are called a hamburger. So if I hit the 3 lines on the bottom or I hit the hamburger, I can go to calibration. Okay. And then I can go to my calibration screen. So I can also calibrate from the tablet. Okay, I have no way of putting it on the screen. I'm sorry about that. If I update the calibration, it's one of those, did you really want to do that? So I'm going to say, yes, I wanted to do that. If you notice, the home position blinked green for a couple of seconds, and it blinked green to let you know that it was successful. If it blinks red, that means something was too far out of the home position and it didn't store the calibration, or you have an error, and that's why it's not storing the calibration. Okay, so it's nicer than just failing on the screen, because the screen is just going to tell you it failed. Okay, so lights up green. Okay. From calibrations, it's just giving you all the home pulses and all that. If you want to see the wheel lift, you can. So at this point here on this screen, you can actually min and max stuff to see if the potentiometer is ranging, or if the potentiometer has like a spot where it's not moving. So you can check your potentiometer. Again, you can hit exit. Unfortunately, you have to hit the hamburger again, and you can go into settings. Settings, you can change all of these numbers. The good news is after you change all of these numbers, there's a big red button that says restore factory defaults, because after you change all of these numbers, it's probably not going to work. Okay. Most of these numbers are about speed. Some of the numbers is how far do I have to push down on a pedal before it goes to like 5% gas. Some people want the pedal to act a little quicker. Some people want the pedal to act a little slower. Don't tell people you can adjust it, or you're going to be there all day adjusting pedal inputs. Okay. Um, Two of the things that are, or 3 of the things that are cool. If you put one of these in at a discount tire, this is where you change the minimum tire pressure. Right now it's set at 32. You're going to set it at 14 for discount tire. This you can actually do through here, but you have to know where you're going. These 2 little slider buttons here, these are the only 2 places these slider buttons are at. One of these is called generator mode or sales demo mode. What we do in sales demo mode is we keep the pump running so that the generator has a constant load on it. Because if the thing stops after 15 seconds and then it cranks up again, the generator is going to be like, and then it has to come back up. So by keeping the pump running, we're keeping the generator happier because it's just putting out a constant load. The other thing it has over here is it has wheel lift pedal positions reversed. Some people don't want to ruin the tops of their shoes. So rather than picking the pedal up to go up, they'd rather step on the pedal down for it to go up. My mind doesn't like that because it's backwards. But some people, they care about the tie. I don't know if they buy that S-word shoes that are really expensive but really comfortable, but they don't want to. I'm sorry? So some people don't want to put a hole in the top of their shoe, so they'd rather step down to get it to go up. And you can do that, but you can either switch the wiring inside there, which is not the end of the world, or you can just come over here and push the button and it'll flip it. Okay. And some people like that. Okay. But that's cool. And then after you change something, you have to hit store settings, and then you can hit exit. If you don't hit the store settings, it doesn't save whatever you just moved. Okay. It's cool. I can leave this up here. You guys can play around with this at lunch or whatever. It'll just continue to charge the thing up. Okay. All right. If you take 2 steps. Everyone, no, I'm just kidding. You're good. So as far as I know, I put that way up there on the top shelf like the milk. So on the wheel lift, if I pick up on the wheel lift, oh yeah, because I pick up on my wheel lift. Okay. If I lift up on the wheel lift long enough, there's some logic in it. Before I start to turn, if you notice, it beeped twice, and it waited for the wheel lift to get out of the way because it knows it's in the way. And then it'll start turning, okay? The other thing that I can do, which David will probably tell you is faster, is rather than stepping on it to go down, if I double tap it like a Hillary Clinton assassination, right, it goes all the way down, and there's a satisfaction with double tapping. Okay, I can't double tap to go up because I don't want to hurt anything or anybody. But again, I can either hit the rotate pedal or I can just double tap it. No, I just have to step on it. I just stepped on it one time and it did it. The left pedal, if you push down on it, it's not going to go all the way down because it's like, well, maybe it's a little too high. Maybe you have a really wide tire and you needed to drop it down so that you could get it centered on the platen. So if that's why it has to see the double tap to let it's like, oh, you really want me to get out of the way? I will get out of the way. Okay, that's a pretty cool little thing on the logic. There's not a lot of logic in it, but it's pretty cool logic. Probably after a minute, I'll have you guys all tour the back here. You can see the lower roller potentiometer just so that you can see where it is. It's easier to see on this side. This one here, I have to raise it up. Okay, this one here is an older machine, and this one here does not have... this one here, the potentiometer is just a rubber wheel on a spring, and it just rolls up and down the air tank. At some point, evidently, that air tank can get slick enough in the dirty shop and the wheel slips. So we've added like 80 grit sandpaper and a 1-inch strip all the way up and down the air tank so that that rubber wheel has something to grip. Okay. If you need to, if it does slip, all you have to do is pull it away, move the wheel one way or the other to get it back into a working number, and it'll start working again. Okay. We took the cover off the valve body so you guys can see the valve body. It's just a lot of wires and a lot of solenoids, just like on the Revolution. Again, you're supposed to use a pressure gauge to be within 500 to 800 psi on the arms. That way you know that they're tight enough without being too tight. Speaking of tightening, and this happens because this happens when it gets too close to this, and people, instead of moving the hook up and down, they move the whole entire arm up and down, and then this corner right here hits this corner right here, and then this corner here just turns into some weird flapping apparatus that looks like you tried to peel an onion unsuccessfully. Most of these covers right here are going to look like they have authentic battle damage because they've been in battle and they have lost. Okay. It's nice because it's up high, so it's independent of the D-mount head or the roller. So again, I can move these arms without changing the height of my press arm, bead press arm. Okay. I'm going to move this guy back down so we can talk about that guy. Yes, they will crash into each other. There is no crash avoidance protection. You are the crash avoidance protection. Okay. All right. You're probably going to want a video from right where Jaden is for the next minute or two. All right. So these arms here, you guys saw yesterday. Congratulations on being the first. Well, the first outside people. We are redoing the arms. I don't know if you noticed the Mav that was in that 2026 Expo thing. We have come out with new arms, and they're like, I don't know, I'm sure the thing said how many percent stronger, better, less likely to fold when someone does something stupid to them. They are going to put that TCM in Power Bay today, so you can take more videos of the arms today. This arm here, we actually have washers on our bolt. Do we have washers on the bolts? We actually have washers on our bolts. So there, again, just like the Revolution, there are 4 bolts that hold the. So this arm, the back of the arm wraps all the way around to the front, and then you have the front of the arm right here. The front of the arm is real small. The back of the arm wraps all the way around. If you loosen up these 4 bolts, then you have this big flat-headed bolt here with an Allen and this big flat-headed bolt here with an Allen. If you notice, there's a piece of metal that goes over the head. The piece of metal is attached to the back arm, which means you have to technically loosen the bolt, because if you loosen the bolt, you make the bolt longer. The bolt picks up on this piece of metal, pulls the back tighter while pushing the front in. So it's a lefty tighty, righty loosey deal, which doesn't, it hurts your head for the first 3 times you're trying to do it, because you're loosening the bolt while making the arms tighter, because you're taking up the gap, because you're technically making the bolt longer instead of shorter.
It's just like the tension bolt on the motor for the tire changer. It does the same thing.
You have to make the bolt longer, but you make the bolt longer to make the tension tighter.
They got it reversed through.
Oh, do they? Do they? Okay. Okay.
So is this
Good
thing
for
like-
them. I didn't know they did that.
When you get this thing, does it come all top of it's not bolted on, so you have to bolt the whole
Oh no, the whole thing's done. The hardest part you're going to have to do is fill the tank with fluid, because the fluid fill hole is impossible to get to. So if you walk around to the back, the fluid fill hole is in a nearly impossible spot. You have to have one of those flexible funnels that you can put in like an S shape, because we didn't bother to clock the tank right. We don't like you that much. It's literally, when you get one of these, you have to fill it with fluid again up to the bottom of the sticker. For whatever reason, we do not ship this wrist pad attached. It just has double-sided 3M tape. You have to attach this. You have to put on these 2 black hooks. And you have to get it off the pallet without killing yourself, and congratulations, you just installed a Maverick tire changer. It takes 15 minutes to get on the ground. All of your time is going to be taken up putting the wheel lift on. It's going to take you an hour and a half. So, and most people get to an hour and a half, and that's usually where they plateau. It just takes, the new one probably only takes an hour, because we pre-run some of the wiring. But this one here, we didn't run any of the wiring. And it just takes a while to fish the wires through where they need to
Will you put one
go.
of these together for the NADA show, just so we can
There's
experience the pain of that?
no, because the wheel lift sticks off of the pallet, and they like the pallet being the pallet. So because of that, we won't be putting a wheel lift on a Maverick, which is a bummer, because that means the guys on the floor have to waste their lives
You're gonna be
putting.
You and Aaron and
Yeah, I get to point a lot. I'm more like a supervisor, but I get to point a lot, and then stress because no one's put it on yet, and it's the end of Saturday, and the wheel lifts still aren't on. So I think they have me there just to stress for everybody else. So, I wish we could put the wheel lift on. It's not difficult. The instructions they give you are fairly straightforward. Um, it's just tedious. The one thing they do is, a long time ago they gave you the valve, and you had to take the blanking cap off and put the valve on. And then we were like 88% of all tire changers were sold with a wheel lift. So we talked engineering and manufacturing into putting the valve on, putting the wiring on, and running the wiring to the foot pedal. So all you have to do is plug the foot pedal in, and that saved a good 30-40 minutes of your day. And you know how valves are. You have to use like a number 00 screwdriver. That's a Weha. That costs like $100, because it's German, and it works it's such a satisfying screwdriver. But it's like an M1 screw. It's the thinnest little skinniest screw. But you don't have to, and to run that wire, you have to run it all the way through the umbilical cord through here. It was a mess.
You think on Monday it'd be possible for us to put one on and take it back off?
I don't know if you'll have that kind of time. We have 2 Winaline X machines, 1 Ultimate 8S, 4 balancers, 2 RFWs, 2 SWEs, 2 RFWs, 1 SWE. We also have to calibrate one of the WinX machines. The one that goes in the Hunter booth has to work. The other one can just be a blinky, and we have to somehow, we probably won't be I would love to get to calibrate the ADAS machine. That's gonna be a lot.
You know, just swap the Toyota one that we already calibrated for the one that's not calibrated.
No, because they both have to work.
Is
Well,
that-
technically, the one in Toyota doesn't have to work, does
Yeah,
it?
you said it didn't have to be calibrated. Couldn't you just pull the tape off, put tape on the other one, and you go?
Do what with it?
There's tape that.
Yeah,
links
yeah,
the
yeah,
Toyota
yeah, yeah.
and
We
take
could
that
just
out.
change the tape.
Yeah.
The problem with that is the serial number on the order won't match what's going where, and then when we go to resell it, the serial numbers will be weird. The only reason we did that one is we had a day on the first week, and it was really good. It was really good. You guys needed to do it. If you guys do it a second time, it's not the end of the world, but I don't think we're going to get to it. Usually, when we go to a show, we carry 2 sets of cal bars, and then I take my distance meter and throw it in a box, because we need one. So, at SEMA this year, we actually built 2 complete Ultimate ADAS because we couldn't get to them. I only had a class of 4, and they weren't you. I was really hoping we were going to be like a commando unit. We were going to be fast and light. We were going to blow through stuff, and I was going to have lots of time to. And it was the opposite. It was like, I like the guys. They just they weren't you. So, okay. Arms. Oh yeah, the adjustment. Now the adjustment on the new style arms that you guys either saw yesterday or you're going to see today are a lot like the Rev, where you're going to loosen the bolts and there's a set screw, and you just tighten the set screw and then tighten the bolts back up, and it's going to do the same thing where it's going to pull the back and push the front by turning this, but you actually turn the set screw in, and then it works just like the Revs where it's got the little set screw in the front. Okay. Lastly, you guys haven't done this yet, so you want to come over here. If I pick this guy up and I take this, somebody 7/16, 11 millimeter. Yeah, see how long. Who's he? Who? Oh, did he? I'm gonna kill him. Do I have a 7/16 up here? Does it go all the way down? 3/8, 7/16, 11 mil, 11 mil, 11 mil. Okay. Be like the most overrated socket in the world. You should have. It goes all the way down to 3/8. That's impressive. Okay, normally, there are 2 bolts. Sometimes the bolts holding this on are 7/16 regular bolts. Sometimes they're 3/16 Allen bolts. So it depends on the vintage and what bolt we had laying around. But once you do that, this guy here is on a hinge. And then you can just hinge this guy out, and then you can get to whatever you're looking at. So we have the hinges. You can get to the main board up here. This is normally where the sticker goes, but again, this one's so old it doesn't have a sticker, and it doesn't have any of the zip ties on any of the cables. Down inside of here, you have the same air solenoid block that we do on the Revolution, because we try to reuse stuff wherever possible because it's cheaper to reuse something than it is to make a new one. We have the firebox down here to keep the stupid people from killing themselves. So we have the 220 inside of here. The contactor looks just like the Revolution. There's an amp clamp on it because we have to know all of that. And then down in here also is your air pressure regulator with the water separator right next to the 220 volts.
It's a super
Yeah,
awesome placement for that.
I'm not.
So you turn the air off of it.
I didn't make it. I just have to teach it. Okay. So again, it has the buttons so you can do a self test. It has the lights that light up, right? So I can see the light up, right? So if I move something, I can tell, you know, that the valve is supposed to be working because the red light comes on, which is really kind of cool. Oh, this wire right here, there is a IoT, Windows IoT, Internet of Things. So this unit here can be hooked up to HunterNet 2 because the box is back here, and the box back here has my boards in it so that I can save a Wi-Fi password and find Wi-Fi. It has the Wi-Fi antenna in it, and it basically just sticks through the little hole and it plugs in, and Bob's your uncle, and you can be reporting to HunterNet. Okay.
Did you say it was like a real pain in the ass to get this machine on the HunterNet?
It was 2 years ago. I haven't tried to put one on since then.
Or no, was it one of those?
Mateus, can you get the crash cart? You know, the little stand-up cart. Yeah, this one's possible. This one, oh, I know what was wrong with this one. The actual software we put into it disabled the Wi-Fi. And I didn't know it at the time, so I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out why the Wi-Fi didn't work. And then they're like, "Oh, we'll have to come out with a new version of software."
Are the customers big into the HunterNet? Like, is that a real
Are the
common
like
thing?
the people you talk to? No, but like people like him who own the shop, yes, because he wants to see how productive his pieces of equipment are.
He wants to
What's
know the ROI
what's even who likes it even more are people like Jesse, because if you own 38 stores, you'll have a HunterNet account for all 38 stores. Then you'll have one primary, and that one primary will actually do all of his work for him, and it'll rank all 38 stores as far as productivity in the shop. And then he doesn't have to figure out who's sandbagging and who's not upselling and who's not selling alignments or tires, because we're basically the snitch at that point. We'll snitch on the people that aren't doing their job.
Does it create any sort of like monthly report for you, or is it just data all the time?
I'm sure it does. But as a service person, I never delved into it because that's the salespeople. That's their job to hype it up and to sell it, and then all I have to do is hook it up.
HunterNet for reporting so much, and we also use it for all the hunter reps, and at least in my region, they required the service managers to go in and order their own consumables, heads and rollers and everything.
So you're on a pop for any shade tree mechanic, they're not going to give a shit because they don't want to run into the shit.
No, I would. I'd want to know because I'm going to justify whether or not I just spent that money and if I did it smartly.
So I'm going to tell you this much: you're going to be surprised on the ROI. Most ROIs are fulfilled under 6 months. Like after six, yes, most.
I would have thought like at least a year, 6 months.
No, 6 months.
Well, for actual tire
Like-
shops,
That
right?
brake plate
Yeah.
that I bought from them paid for itself.
and if
The
not-
first 4 months I owned.
If not,
Yeah.
that's when you start asking questions.
Right.
How's your process?
Like quick check drives, an ROI on a $90,000 quick check drive lane is literally like 3.5 months, because you're selling so many more alignments that you're covering the cost.
I worked at a dealer and we had 2 alignment racks, right? They put in an RO or one of those roll-through things, right? We put in 2 more alignment racks. Their alignments literally went from like 200 a month to like 5, almost 600 alignments a month.
Something like 40% of every car on the road needs an alignment, and 60% of every car on the road needs some type of tire work, whether it's 2 tires or 4 tires. No, just tires, buying new tires. Whether it's 2 tires or 4 tires. Maybe the guy got 2 new tires and they're on the rear, so the fronts are now bald because he doesn't think about it, right? Because I just got tires, right? Or, you know, you got the people that are skating around and, you know, the cords are showing through and they're like, I don't know, it's a little slippery when it rains, but other than that, it's, you know,
I know my car. Don't worry about it.
I can't get to 100% on the dashboard when I put air in the tire, you know. It's like,
I like tire shops that whenever an all-wheel drive car pulls in and they just replace 2 tires.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah,
all-wheel
yeah,
drive
yeah.
car pulls in.
We don't allow it.
Yeah.
The 4 stores we put the tubs in, we had one store we put double tubs right next to each other.
Mhm.
But the 4 stores we put the tubs in, after a month, They had to hire just a technician or a dedicated technician. That was his only job. He only did alignments all day long.
Mhm. And he couldn't keep up.
And if he called off, it was like, oh shit, who's gonna do alignments?
Who's going to do alignments that day? So this is just here because this is an older Maverick, and it was well, we threw it out. So we took a HD cart, and it's a little easier. You can see you can see everything that you can't see on this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we were,
I
you
thought it was
know,
Virgin.
you know,
Come
you know. This one here was probably within the first 6 months. Oh, I know what this one was. This one was at a beta test site, which is why it's dirty. And the beta test site returned it to us in remarkably pristine condition. And, we decided, well, we were just going to scrap it rather than try to make it, So I was like, hey, give me a minute.
What's all the equipment at the rec center and the bay doors right there? What are they doing there?
The equipment at the rec center.
Shop next door.
Yeah, literally, you're at the door that we entered. In the
Oh, yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Bay doors to your
Yeah.
right here.
That is engineering, like skunk works stuff. So I would have to neuralize you before and after you walked into those bays right there. We are that's where all of our
My big ass.
we're not even at alpha testing at that point. That's like development. Speaking of that, I need to Teams a guy because I need to Teams a guy, see how it's working. All right. So again, so this is honestly what it works like without the back panels on it. Just service technicians we're that type of people. We just want to see what's back there and how the sausage is made. Okay. The other thing on this one here is we have the spindle. Okay. The spindle, if you take these 4 silver bolts off, this entire spindle will just pull out. Okay. Because the spindle the spindle itself is on a chassis. The chassis is attached to a hydraulic cylinder, and the hydraulic cylinder either pushes the chassis in or out. But the front of it just has the 4 bolts, and if you can see the 2 yellow caps right here, Jake was asking about this, but this is the actual hydraulic pump that turns the spindle, and this pump it looks the same as a rev, but I think the pressure, the horsepower is different. So this is where your 2 lines would come in. And again, we just reverse direction on the lines, and that's how we get it to go in whichever direction we need it to go. This pump doesn't look all that much, but when you pick that pump up, you pick that pump up with 2 hands. It is a freaking heavy pump. I don't know. That is definitely not made out of beer canonium. That pump is solid right there.
Is there anything removable in it?
Yeah, because if you take these 4 bolts off, the part where you put how the wing nut is super long, and this part here is threaded like a screw, right? That's why when you put it down, you have to tighten it up. The screw part goes all the way down to here. So this is actually hollow. Okay, and all it is it's a top, and then this piece here goes all the way down to the pump. So it's almost like its own depth, whatever you want to call it. So there is no pulling down, it's manual. So on this one here, you have to put this in, right? You put this in, you push it, and then you have to take this, and then you have to crank down, which is why we give you because you have to tighten it up manually, because we can't have the roller bearings like on that because the patent still works. So you have to really crank down on this to keep that from loosening up. Okay. So again, if you stop here, you just tighten it down. Okay. So again, this is how we had to. This is the only thing we could come up with that made it work, because again, patents are patents and money is money. Litigation is expensive, so we'd rather not go through that if we don't have to. Yeah, so the rev spindle has a lot more to it because it's automatic. We can't break the TPMS. Here, if you break the TPMS, well, just look in the mirror. There's the safety manager, right? right? So that's why there's hardly anything in here. It's just three parts. It's the casing, the down tube, and the hydraulic pump. Okay. Um, this is nice only because you can actually see the backside of it, because those bolts are the bolts that hold the pump to the spindle. Again, those things are put on with like 5 Ugga and it's like a standard. It's like a standard half-inch Allen, right? It's you got to get a big Allen, you got to get a big pry bar. Those things are tight. Remember, Larry the Enticer? Those things are torqued. Right? That's. I think Larry works in the plant, and by golly, he's torquing those bolts down. He is sending it. He did send it. He sends it every day because those bolts are ridiculously tight. Whatever it is, it's one more day than today because we don't replace a whole lot of them. Well, older ones, there were two different styles of pumps. And depending on which pump you got, some people were complaining that pump stall. If you had a really tough tire, it didn't have enough oomph to turn it around. So, I don't know, 6 months ago, we went through a fairly big testing thing, and supposedly we stopped buying the pumps from this company because they didn't make as much torque as this company. So we were only going to buy the pumps from this company because it gave us more torque. We did it very scientifically. We put a 28-inch rim on here, attached. It looked like a wire. It looked like a rope that you were going to fell a tree with, and then we attached one of those Z brackets, almost like a lateral force sensor, and then we just see how much it was pulling. Right, so it was, it worked, right? Because we could figure out how much torque was being applied to it. Yeah. So as far as failures, not, I don't know of any. The people in Atlanta aren't calling me. The people in Virginia aren't calling me.
Not necessarily a failure, just not enough power to.
Yeah, and again, it was one company was just not making enough twisty. So anyway, they seem to last. This came out in no, this came out in like 2023. This is only about 2 years old, so they're not really really old. We just started developing it about 2 years ago, which is why we just came around to redoing the arms. Somewhere in Texas, somewhere in South Texas, I think it's South Central Texas. There is a Discount Tire, and if we're going to sell something to Discount Tire, we put it in that store first because they are capable of breaking things that are solid, like literally solid pieces of steel they manage to break. So when we do Discount Tire torture testings, we send somewhere down south, way south in Texas.
I know the one that's up the road from me will tow cars to my shop when they break lug nuts or lug nuts. They do that.
Yeah, all the time.
We usually get 2 a day, where we got to go in and change lug nuts.
Discount tires also buy they don't buy base model equipment. They buy usually pretty fancy equipment.
Yeah. So remember the other day I was talking about A quota and B quota, and we got stuck on A quota. A quota is for regular stores, John Smith Chevy. Discount Tire, your salespeople will get B quota, which is only 10%, because your salespeople aren't technically allowed to go in there and sell them anything, right? The Discount Tires, the Firestones, the Tires Pluses, the Mavises, the Monroes, the Car X's, they're nationwide, and what they want to do is they want to set up nationwide pricing. So there's a guy here in Mahogany Row that is the national accounts manager, and he gets together with them and he sets like this is what you're going to buy and this is how much you're going to pay for it. So salespeople like you'll never see your salesperson in a discount tire.
They're just fulfilling orders at that point. They're not.
Yes, right. Because there's no way he's going to get them to buy something that one they're not approved for, and two that's not on their time schedule. Right? They have a time schedule. They know in 6 months they're going to buy this. So we still have to pay them because it's not their fault they can't go in there, but because they don't have to put any effort into other than breathing and staying employed. So they get 10% instead of 15, right? Because it is going, and I see. Yeah, but again, you're cold calling for much of your life, right? You're like, I know you didn't ask me to come in here today, but how do you feel about spending 120 grand? You know what are you doing?
They're all buying aligners now.
Yeah, they're all buying aligners, 10%. So.
Yeah, because we installed the Hawkeye Elite and it had every little thing on it that you could possibly.
Did it have an ADAS link?
No, it did not have.
It didn't. I didn't think so. So
that was the one thing it didn't get.
Yeah.
But it had.
You will actually.
LEDs, everything.
Yeah.
Have to call one of us to help you put the thing in.
So.
For that amount of money, you can put it by yourself.
No, he just has to give me 3%.
Oh, real quick, let me. Cause what time? What time are you?
It is
20 after 10. All right, we're gonna take 5 minutes here in about 3 minutes, but let me get through this first. I think we've cycled through bathrooms. I don't know. I hadn't seen Connor go again, so I'm sure it's time.
Little butt cake.
Hey, with this marble glazed donut thing.
Okay, I forgot. So let me. On the tablet, you saw those cool video. You saw those cool fields that you could change the numbers of. Right, you could change. Basically, you're changing the pulse width modulated percentages of stuff. If you push the up and down button, okay. If you size so air, if I hit this guy here, is it this guy? I can go to KPSI. I can go to bar. Right. No one measures anything in bar unless you're in Mercedes in Germany, and then they'll measure in bars. If I go to the next one, I can do cal again. If I push down on cal, it stores stuff. And then I go into all these really weird things, RDA, RDL, RDU, THD, SDL, LS. I have no idea what any of these things mean because we can only give you 3 characters and then a number. So it's so much easier to plug in a tablet. The only one that I know of, because I have to remember it, is it just said TPL, which stands for tire pressure limit. So if you're putting one of these in at a discount tire and you don't have a tablet, if you get the tire pressure limit, right now it's set on 32. If I wanted to put it all the way down to 14, right? And then if I keep going, if self is a self-test, I have never pushed self-test, so I don't want to do it today. If I go down to cal, and now you see that I changed from 32 to 14. Okay, so just in case you're an Apple guy and you're like, I really don't want to buy an Android tablet, whatever, I get it. You can change. There's no way to get to reversing the switches on the lift, and there's no way to get to generator mode for your salesperson, but you can get to any of those other numbers.
Calibrate the wheel lift through that.
You cannot change the direction of the wheel lift through this. You have to do it through the tablet. I didn't say that either.
You don't need to set that, don't you?
Well, if you ever have to replace the potentiometer, you're going to have a tablet because you're going to have to get to the data screen to see what the numbers are to get it to 1850 plus or minus 200. The pedal's already set. You're just doing is basically like where's middle, right? So that's why every time I do this, it basically recalibrates that, looks at that guy there, and then recalibrates my air pressure because that's about the only 3 things it's doing. It's also looking to make sure that my joysticks are 1800 plus or minus, or whatever. Sometimes they're 1,800, sometimes they're $2,000, but it's looking for a zero number, right? And there's a range for that in case you have a joystick that's like, the spring goes bad or something, or it's not returning the center. So it's making sure that all the joysticks are centered.
Can you replace just the individual joysticks, or do you have to buy the whole bar or the whole board?
That board.
You have to replace the board.
I don't. Yeah. Oh, they are soldered on. Well, yeah, but you don't have to replace. You can just replace the one board with the joysticks. But if you have somebody that's like, going Tarzan or something on the joystick and he keeps hanging off of it and breaking it, you're going to replace the whole.
Or is in Jaden's turn, you get stick drift.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, this isn't like a gaming console, so you're not on it 20 hours a day. So your stick drift is not as prominent. And
Hex that are like.
yeah. So yeah, like their shirt or something like that. What else about this? What else about that? What else about this? There's not a lot to it. That's why we wait. We do revs first and mavs second because there's just not a lot to do it. You can just like on the Revolution, you can put a thick bead kit. The black hook, you can swap out the hook. It has the same compliance link style where you just whatever you do. I would keep these E-clips on the truck because you hear an E-clip bounce one time and you will never hear or see it again. So keep those on the truck because the last thing you want is either a $22,000 or a $42,000 piece of machinery down because you can't find the right E-clip.
Right? Like on my Skag lawnmower, that's how they keep the roller on the back. Like there's several different rollers. I'm like, why would they not just drill a hole and put a cotter pin through there? Because they come off and then you don't realize it till you're 4 or 5 stripes and you're like, shit.
It's cotter shear too, because my Toro has cotter pins and that deck slides back and forth and it shears it.
Yeah, because it's only a point where at least the E-clip is 270 almost, right? It's a little bit better.
So then you go get you some high gauge welding wire right there and quit shit.
Oh, like 70,000 psi rods or something. All right, let's take 5 minutes. We'll just take 5 minutes and we'll come back and we'll probably talk about auto 34s.